In the 2000s, doctors like Dr. Liz began noticing something alarming. For the first time in the United States, children were projected to live shorter lives than their parents. But what if the answer wasn't more prescriptions, but what's on our plates? But before we dive into this episode, you know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all.
Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Welcome to the Good Vibes Studio, Dr. Liz.
Thank you. Those vibes are really contagious.
Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, y'all. It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Jovonnie, and I'm here with Dr. Liz, Director of Healthy Eating Adventure. Dr. Liz, you and your husband are both physicians who've seen thousands of lives change. Can you take us back to when you first realized that food was the missing link in the health crisis?
When I first realized it, I might have suspected it for a while, but because as family physicians, we did advise healthy eating, but what was healthy eating, and exercise and everything. But boy, with that change and with the increasing diabetes, hypertension, and everything, I was really looking for something we could do for our community. In fact, one day I was sitting in my office, and there in front of me was this child who the scale said weighed 150 pounds. That's more than me. And his age he was only 10 years old. So looking at that, and I was talking to his mom, she had never herself been taught her generation hadn't been taught to cook. They weren't cooking in the kitchen with their parents. The home ec had been removed from school, and she was getting most of her meals for the family through the car window. And fast foods.
And right, just in case you didn't catch that, I'm glad you let them know, Dr. Liz.
And I was talking to the child, he could hardly name any fruits and vegetables. So I'm going, And so I started to talk to them about eating healthily and about just trying to include some fruits and vegetables and everything. And he was pleasant. And when they're leaving, he said to his mom, "Mom, I was good. Can we go to McDonald's now?" So
Habits.
I knew.
Her answer?
What's that?
What was her answer, though?
Oh, I didn't hear. No, I have a feeling that's where they went. But it was clear that something hadn't changed, and she wasn't the only in the community trapped by that. And at the same time, there was I had come across some research showing that a whole food plant-based eating plan could actually reverse coronary artery disease. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and Dr. Dean Ornish both had arteriograms showing that patients' arteries actually open with whole food plant-based eating. That does not happen when you take a statin. Statins might slow the progression down, but it doesn't reverse it. So clearly, the food was something. And I was also thinking back when I was talking to this mom, I was thinking about how did we get into this? How did their taste buds get so wiry that this kid doesn't enjoy fruits and vegetables? What they want is that salt, that sugar, that fat. And how did our taste buds get grabbed? Well, back in the 50s, even they started saying, don't take time to cook. Here, let us give you these boxed things these pre-made things that you can cook, these TV dinners and stuff. And then, mid 60s, out came fast foods, come drive through the window. Don't spend time cooking. And it was pulling away from that family time and that pleasure of talking and cooking together and eating together. And then later, maybe 70s, the portions started getting huge. Like and it was kind of like, cool. You go to a restaurant and you get a lobster that was 2 pounds and a steak that was pound, both on the same plate. And that's the biggest thing on the plate. So clearly it had to change. And then when I came across that research, and then Caldwell Esselstyn's son was a triathlete. And I happened to see a book by him, Engine 2 Diet, because he had taught, he had taught firemen to eat whole food plant-based. And he happened to go to Mercersburg Academy, where we were in practice in Mercersburg. So I called him and said, hey, you don't know me, but I'm Dr. Elizabeth George. I'm actually a physician at Mercersburg Academy. How would you like to come back to your academy town and help change lives? How would you like to come get us started on a whole food plant-based program, kind of like you did for the firemen? And he was so cool. He didn't pause. He said, game on. And he came. Yeah, it was amazing. And the energy that the program got started with, and we set it up so that people, first they heard the information on how did your taste buds get robbed, and make them mad and want to do something. Give me back my taste buds. And then we presented, the first meal we had prepared, and they taste this fabulous food that's all from whole foods, plant-based, and they start going, wow. And then they sign up for 28 days where we teach them each week we have a potluck where they have some demos on cooking. I talk some more on the science of it, because I feel like if you know why it works, because it does work, and that you'll change. And plus, each of them is bringing a wonderful dish that they've enjoyed during the week. And so you're changed. We have about 40 people in a group. They're tasting 40 different dishes and going, wow. And they're seeing the variety and how it's expands. Not things you can do. And people really got, and they, I disappeared for a while. Maybe that was my computer. And they shared with each other, gee, how'd you do this? Wow, this is great. How'd you cook this? Where'd you buy this? And they shared the information. So they're learning from each other, community learning from each other. And they said, wow, if you can do this, I can.
And y'all, I am so excited that Dr. Liz brought in this conversation about the science behind what it is that you're eating and the why. So if you are tired of reading every label at the grocery store just to end up with plant-based products that still leave you bloated, sluggish, or stuck in a cycle of inflammation, I have a plant-based alternative guide in the show notes, which helps make it easy. Why? Because I add the functional nutritional benefits. What are you getting from these grains, these fruits, these vegetables that you're now putting on your plate? What are the nutrients that's happening from different swaps that now support your hormone health, reduce that inflammation, but it still tastes good? You're still taking that idea or that concept of the meal you're going to have, but now swapping it with whole foods that have nutritional value. So go ahead and grab it. It's in the show notes, or you can go over to 4vibrations.com and get the plant-based alternative guide. It is time to upgrade your plate with confidence. So Dr. Liz, I really appreciate you bringing in like the 40 different taste testing potluck vibes that people can experience, because when they are able to experience different foods and it tastes good, it starts to truly open up their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs, their mindset around food and what is possible for them and what they can truly enjoy. And so I'm really glad about that. But then I also love that you talked about the Engine 2 diet. So I didn't know we were going to make this connection with the Engine 2 diet, but my mom bought the book, and it was something we tried back in 2015. We made the lasagna. I think it was like a sweet potato lasagna that was in the Engine 2 diet book. And it actually wasn't too bad. It wasn't, ma'am.
No, it's not too bad.
It wasn't too bad. I was kind of like, because I'm not really a sweet potato person, but the more that I embrace plant-based living, my anti-inflammatory lifestyle, I'm incorporating more foods that I traditionally wouldn't have chosen back in the day prior to me loving myself more and embracing a different journey. But the lasagna wasn't that bad. So when you said that, I was like, okay, I can vibe with that. But what I also like was having this conversation with that patient. I'm taking it back because you was really giving us some great insights to that 10-year-old at 150 pounds. And because we can't see all of us, I'm in that 150-pound range, but I'm also 38 years old. I'm not 10. And so I can only imagine what that weight was doing to his body. With his development that was still happening. And so when you're having these conversations about what are you typically eating, what are you feeding on, I love that you said it's been more of a convenience because it's been a societal thing, a community thing, and not really just pointing at that mom with saying you're the reason why your child is 150 pounds. It was more so as a community, as a society, we need to shift our thoughts around how are we feeding ourselves? How are we fueling ourselves? And are we making the best choices and the decisions in regards to those foods to make sure that we're really caring and loving our loved ones the way we need most? But you already saw the addiction was there in regards to where I want to go because it's familiar. Let's go to McDonald's, right? And they always say they're America's #1 favorite French fries of that sort. And it's like the more you learn and know what's going on and what's in the foods, the less that you kind of want to consume it when you want to do better. But you even talked about it. You said I think you were saying in the 70s and 80s, that's when they started adding in the additives and the preservatives and all of these additional ingredients just to increase the shelf life. What does that do to someone's health long term in the event that they don't take action, Dr. Liz? Like if they just keep eating on this lifestyle 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, let's say they're now in their 80s. Is it something that they can stop doing and there's still benefits to it? Or is it just, oh, I've done this my whole entire life. Nothing's going to change if I start changing now. Talk to us about that, Dr. Liz.
The other thing that they were adding was fake flavors that made us want more. There was food chemists. That was a big thing then, and creating flavors and even smells. Like you could walk into a bakery or into McDonald's, and it would stimulate your taste because of these smells. They were very clever, and I don't know if they were meaning to be mean or
I don't know if y'all are, while Dr. Liz is coming back to us, I don't know if you've ever driven down the street and you smell the Burger King just coming through your vent. You smell the Burger King grill coming through your vent, or you can smell this restaurant around the corner because the smells are coming in. Those food chemists were absolutely amazing. We lost you there for a minute, Dr. Liz. I think you're back now.
my kitchen.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, like the food chemist. I didn't even think about food chemists as even being that. I don't know. I didn't even think about their role with being able to really create great smells, these fake flavors. And really, when you said that they create these artificial flavors, it automatically made me think about natural flavor. And you know how they have this big thing now where they can say, oh, it's natural flavors. And to the everyday person, they're just thinking, oh, it's just natural flavoring, natural from whatever it is that I'm having, not knowing that they can just put natural flavor on something and it be something totally different that you didn't even know what it was. But I see it in your eyes. Talk to us about this food chemist, the real about natural flavors, Dr. Liz, and then we'll move on.
I'm just going to give you one example of natural flavor. I think it's for raspberry or blueberry. I'm not sure which one. It is collected from beaver butt. It's from they release pheromones that attract, sexual attraction. It's the glands near the anus. And that's where that natural flavor is collected from. They can call anything a natural flavor. But this is terrible. Let's not talk about that. So this is what we're going to change. And then,
So you heard it here first. Drop Beaver in the comments if you caught what Dr. Liz just threw to you in regards to natural flavors when they're talking about either blueberries or raspberries.
No, but don't think that that's not the real thing. If it says it's blueberry flavored, but it doesn't have blueberries in it. Buy the blueberries, eat the blueberries, eat the raspberries.
Get the blueberries and leave the beavers alone. Okay.
Yeah. Don't. But when you look at the ingredients, there, maybe there should be 3 things. But
not everybody looks at the ingredients, Dr. Liz. So that's a powerful moment right now, y'all. Pay attention to what it is that you are purchasing. Look on the back of the box, the carton. Pay attention to what it is that you're putting into your body. You only get one body. And so if you don't know what it is, do some research. I use an app called Yuka, Y-U-K-A, and most of the things you can scan the barcode, the QR, the barcode on the ingredients, and it'll start telling you, does it have additives in it that you might want to stay away from? What do those additives do to your body? And so just start to get really curious about what it is that you're consuming, because it has a way of showing up into your life.
If you just don't focus so much on buying things in packages and cans, but buy mostly your fresh foods, your fresh fruits, your fresh vegetables. So you're going around the outside of the grocery store. And if they're frozen, that's okay. But because usually they're frozen fresh. And so you go around and look at all the colorful things. And then if you want to get pastas or whole grains, just go down that aisle. But that should be the only, if it's like whole lentil pasta, the ingredient should be lentils. You're not a whole bunch of other stuff. And you don't need something with salt added and sugar and fat or anything. So you want to leave those out. So everything should just be the whole food, or slightly processed into a pasta. Whole grain, it should be, brown rice, bulgur, any couscous, any of those. Well, not couscous. What was I thinking? Buckwheat. But that's what it should be. And if you don't find them, go to your store manager and say, hey, I would really like to have some whole grains, not this fake stuff, or not just the white rice. And I'd really like to have some lentil pastas and stuff. And then the next time you go to the manager again and say it again, because he won't remember it was you. And so he'll start thinking, wow, people are really asking about getting whole grains and stuff. So our local, when we went whole food plant-based in the community, not everybody, but people did, they showed up quickly in the grocery store. They really expanded what they were putting on the shelves. Lots of whole grains.
So let's start right here and kind of really talk about the role that advocacy plays, Dr. Liz, because in the lifestyle of plant-based living and more whole foods, you and your husband, y'all really rallied around, we need better in our community. That went to better walking paths and trails, bikeability, that was really holding restaurants accountable for having better options, more options that align people to be able to come here and choose wisely. And like you just said, now go into your grocery stores. If you're finding that it's not providing you what it needs, advocate for that, ask for it, request it, have multiple people come in different times and advocate for that. Tell us what it looked like at the beginning to really get a community effort to really rally behind these initiatives for better living for your community members.
It was really just everybody taking on the whole food plant-based eating, and they're going to their grocery stores, and we'd have conversations at our meals, and people would talk about what they were running up against, and we just, it takes time. It wasn't like we didn't pick at them or anything, but people would say, well, what restaurant can I go to? Because that one doesn't have, that one doesn't sound. I said, I love going to those restaurants, because I go in and I sit down and I look at it. I was at one the other day up in Spokane, Washington, and it was a fancy, it was out looking out over water. It was really pretty, but it was a fancy seafood meat place. But so I looked at the menu and I looked at the different dishes that they created, sort of the sides next to the things, and some of them were, pretty good looking. But they had broccoli and beans and different things. And I said to the chef, I said to the waiter, "Your chef looks very creative." And I said, "Do you think he could take some of these different vegetables, these broccoli, I see there's red peppers in here and beans and Brussels sprouts, they're so good. And just see if you've got some pasta there, see if he'll stir fry them, but don't stir fry them in oil, stir fry them in wine. And he can add his special flavors that he likes, like oregano or thyme, and then dish them over the pasta. It'll be a pasta verde." He's so creative. So guess what? I should show you a picture of it was amazing, the dish he made. It was really great. So, but I like doing that. And we also started having dining out with HEA, Healthy Eating Adventure. And I would go to the chef at the restaurant and I'd say, "Do you think if we bring a group of 10 or 20, you could serve us a meal? And here's a cookbook." And I gave him Rip's cookbook or his dad's cookbook at that time, because ours wasn't out yet. But and then he'd make a whole meal or food choices. But then they learned. And so one time, one restaurant in another town had a Dr. Liz's special.
Come on, Dr. Liz, with the special.
So you know what? You persevere. And it's okay. We also talk to the people at schools. But it is don't give up just because it doesn't change overnight, but just be persistent and don't get sucked. Be annoyed at what they've done to food and congratulate them on the positive things in the store and everything, and keep choosing those. And you'll find the things that you enjoy. You can make lots of wonderful dishes with fruits and vegetables and legumes and tofu and stir fries and all sorts of things. Delicious.
I love that. Don't be annoyed with what they've done to food and maybe the limited access they try to provide you or options, but congratulate them on what they do have and get creative on those experiences. I like that message, Dr. Liz. And I also love that you brought it back to community. When you have a sense of community, that community is able to articulate and let you know what barriers, what obstacles, what challenges they're having. So then that way, as a community front, you can then start helping each other in numbers, be able to advocate on what it is that you want to see change in regards to, let's get the sidewalks there. Let's get more options in the restaurant. And I like that you said, take a resource to that restaurant and let them know, hey, I'm coming with about 5-10 people and we want to have a eating experience. These are the things that we eat and the options. I want us to have a great experience in this restaurant. We love the ambiance, we love the vibe, but we want to make sure that we're able to eat and enjoy ourselves.
And we see the chef is very creative.
And we see that you have a very creative and talented chef. Then let's make it happen. So I love that. You had a Dr. Liz special out there. There's a few restaurants where I've created my own variations of things, and I just be like, just call it the JoJo special. And I'll tell them different things like that. And so it's always for me to be able to like say those things or put it out there, or they'll just be like, oh, whatever else you want me to create or you can think of, and then they kind of make it happen. But you have not because you ask not, and you don't ask enough consistently. And the right people who do care would want you to have a good experience, and they will do what it is that they can to provide those things for you. So I love that you talked about that and to have that advocacy aspect to it. But because you already gave your community a taste and an experience of what good food looks like and should feel like and what it's doing to your body, you deserve to get more of that, not just at our table, but at the other tables of those in the community. So I kind of want to ask you this question. What impact does your diet have on your microbiome?
Oh my gosh. It's actually, and then boy, the microbiome, the research on that has just started so much in the past 15 years. It's amazing because you used to just think of gut bacteria as, oh, I've got diarrhea, I've got a gut infection, I've got this, I got, but actually a healthy microbiome is key to your health. Your and a healthy microbiome lives off of fiber. It loves fiber, which means your whole food plant-based eating. And there are some really sneaky bacteria that like the processed food and the meat and the dairy. And you'll get a whole different set of bacteria growing as your microbiome. But a healthy microbiome takes the fiber that it gets and it turns it into, this is just one example. I mean, there's a gazillion, turns it into a molecule called butyrate. Butyrate is the molecule that the gut cell walls use for energy. So if the gut cell wall isn't nourished properly, you get things like leaky gut. So your microbiome is crucial to a functioning gut. It also, the butyrate and other molecules that are made help push off colon cancer. And so it's amazing. And then when you restore the gut wall, and you're going to restore the cells that are functioning along there, there's cells that actually make gliptins and GLP-1s as the food comes down. And and so you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for Ozempic. Just feed your microbiome whole foods plant-based, and those cells in there will make your gliptin, your Ozempic, and it'll give your body the messages it needs to process sugar. I mean, it's really amazing.
So let's say they're listening to us right now, Dr. Liz, or let's say we end up clipping this episode and we talk about this natural way of giving your body what it needs, and it's the hack to what the microwave or quick trend is right now, or the fast way of getting to the Ozempic benefits look like. So give everybody the Dr. Liz Ozempic hack to what exactly they need to do in their diet or their lifestyle to truly heal and help with what it is that they're trying to get after in regards to those benefits for Ozempic.
Well, honestly, it's not that complicated. It's just getting, there's lots of wonderful whole food plant-based cookbooks out there. The Esselstyns have them. They can get ours. Healthy Eating Adventure has wonderful recipes in it. And Chef Nick talks about the how-to and how to stock your pantry. But it's easy, and you just follow them and you have fun. It's really not complicated. And guess what else? It's less expensive.
So it's less expensive. You're getting a cookbook. What are they looking for in these cookbooks? They go and get the Healthy Eating Adventure cookbook. What is it that they're following that makes it so simple versus the Ozempic?
Well, Ozempic is a pill and it's expensive. And it's not solving the problem. It's
not solving the problem. And what problem do we really need to solve?
We need to just give our body the right foods and keep it healthy. But it's the food. It make sense. I mean, you wouldn't think of putting sand and M&Ms in your gasoline tank.
There you go. Now that's an example.
This is how, your body functions on the food it eats. It uses it for energy. It functions. It makes it grow. And it's, you have to put, and do you know that fruits and vegetables have 64 times the antioxidant levels that meat and dairy? In fact, meat and dairy have next to none. But your body really needs the antioxidants to run because that's part of the different chemical cycles in the body.
And that kind of leads into the next question, Dr. Liz. How does a plant-based diet feed the microbiome differently than the standard American diet?
The sad American diet, the standard American diet. It's the fiber. In terms of the microbiome, it's the fiber, and the fiber. Oh, the microbiome lives off that fiber. That's what it. And one of its things it makes is butyrate. It's pretty much that simple. And then you need your body uses the other ingredients too. But the microbiome Another thing it does, for example, is it takes tryptophan and helps it get turned into serotonin for your brain.
Mm.
You know what those nasty bacteria do that live in the processed food, meat, dairy environment?
What do they do?
They take that tryptophan for themselves and break it up.
So they're robbing you of what you're supposed to be getting for your body.
Well, and the serotonin, think of it. That's kind of gets to your, the tryptophan gets to your brain so it can make the serotonin, which is what works a lot of your circuitry up there. I mean, and the one thing that we saw, what I was so amazed, and I thought, good, their blood pressure will get better, their sugars will get better. But the amazing thing was they'll come in a week later. My mood is so much better. Is your mood better? I'm sleeping better. My energy's good. I ran 5 miles yesterday. I never can run. It totally changes how your body, it makes your body function normally. So you normally, and it's amazing. And that's actually what got us so excited. I think what's kept Healthy Eating Adventure going so long is the remarkable changes in it that you see in your whole well-being. You're optimizing your health and making the body function the way it can, the way it should.
I thank you. Thank you for breaking that down for me, Dr. Liz. And what I really want to do is I really want to let you all know about a free training. So if you've been pushing through pain, wondering why nothing is working or why your energy is always low, then this message is for you. Inside of my free training, I break down the 4-step lifestyle shift that helped me go from surviving with stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, and all the hormonal chaos to reclaiming energy, peace, and alignment naturally. I want you to click on the link in the show notes, register so you can stop just managing symptoms and start living from the root. So, Dr. Liz, we talked about healthy.
No pun intended, roots. Eat your root vegetables. Root. Eat from the roots.
All from the root. All from the root. I really love that you talked about fiber because I feel like we give so much emphasis on protein. Well, where do you get your protein from when you're on a plant-based lifestyle living, or when people aren't consuming meat? And you just talked about it. Fruits and vegetables give you about 64%, I think was the statistic you gave.
64 times the amount of antioxidants.
Times the amount that you could get from dairy, meat, and things of that. Thank you for that. And I appreciate it. But you also talked about conditions like ADHD, autoimmune disease, even chronic kidney disease having shown improvement with the plant-based living. That's not what most people hear about at the doctor's office. Why is that?
It is just, I don't know. And it's not being taught in medical schools, but what we're doing is I'm reaching out to medical schools and other people are. So you're starting to see it being taught in medical schools and some doctors are taking it on. And so I don't know if I really don't get it. It's easier to give a pill and just go here. And there's a lot of push to don't spend time. The insurance companies don't spend time, give these drugs as part of this regimen. And they're just, it's not whole medicine. It's just sad. I'm so glad there is something called lifestyle medicine certification now. Lifestyle medicine is being taught, and they are emphasizing whole food, plant-based eating style. And I don't have an answer why, but people are aware of that and really trying to work with medical schools and doctors. And I know when I was in Pennsylvania and I was presenting often about whole foods, and we got the hospital to serve whole food plant-based eating in Pennsylvania. And the doctors were catching on then when they just needed the information. And if you've taken on a whole food plant-based lifestyle and you go to your doctor and they go, oh no, we're not getting enough protein, just say, I'm feeling great. and you might like this book. And I've had people that, basically you're the ambassadors to your doctor, but just say, I'm feeling great. I mean, like, look at the elephants, okay? Where do they get their protein?
Plants.
And where do the cows get their protein and the beef get their protein? Plants.
Plants.
Yeah. So, and eating their protein actually causes, well, like I said, creates a bad microbiome, but they themselves cause allergic reactions often, and that some of them are you've heard of alpha gal. That's something that causes an allergic reaction from meat, and the casein in dairy. Those things are often triggering inflammation, and probably the source of a lot of autoimmune. We saw rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, ankylosing spondylitis. We saw those three reverse in the years. Now, I mean, that's pretty remarkable. And usually people are on all sorts of pills for that.
And if they missed it at the beginning of the episode, when you were talking about even with the patients with, I think you were talking about the statin and being able to be more on the plant-based with having their arteries open up more, and something that medication won't give them the opportunity to do. It just doesn't do it. I think that's beautiful to see these benefits and these results happening from plant-based living, whole foods, lifestyle changes, moving. I think that's a big testament to it. But what are the myths around fatty liver disease, and how is it actually food related and not necessarily a medication deficiency?
Oh my gosh. I'm glad that's the newest thing that they're developing drugs for, and treatment and lists of routine and follow up and take these pills. I cannot believe it. It just drives me nuts, because it really is the nutrition that's causing the bad. I don't know if you want to call it nutrition. It's the processed food and junk food and all the fat in the meat and dairy that's causing and then the lack of foods that counter inflammation and everything, that are causing that fatty liver. And we've seen fatty liver reverse. The chef that wrote the book with me, and that's one of the reasons he wanted to write the book, for people to know, because it does, and it's just horrible. What's the cause? What's the cause of this? It's the food. It's not like all of a sudden, what's really sad is kids are getting fatty liver. So people, they need to look at this as a new increasing thing. All of these things. What's the cause? Let's treat it. Let's prevent.
I like that you brought that into the conversation, because I know we started with an example of a child, 150 pounds, 10 years old. And now we're back with the child again, because I've heard so many people talk about like not wanting to rob their child of the experience of eating all of these foods now that they know better. And it's as if the moms or the parents are eating better, but they're still allowing their children to kind of eat whatever, or not be as mindful or considerate of the things that they're exposing them to. But then I see some real good plant-based lifestyle families and moms that are creating food for their toddlers, creating for their babies that are always been plant-based, the entire time, and having different conversations when they're pregnant, being plant-based, and what are different things that I need to look out for, and what does my child need as they get older. And I love these conversations are starting to shift, because it's not about I'm robbing my child of a childhood, and I want them to have all of these different things. But then you have the ADHD, you have some of these other conditions that are causing it, and to have middle school students with diabetes already, not the ones that they were born with it, or that's just how their body was, but because of their lifestyle have now been exposed to diabetes, or just different conditions that are around lifestyle habits and exposures and environments, and just maybe sometimes a lack of knowledge. And so no one's perfect, but there are things that, as you continue to hear conversations like you're listening to right now on the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, the more empowerment you get, the more education you get, the more incitement you get, it should give you just enough level of curiosity to start then taking it to do your own research, seeing what the science is saying, what is going on in your body, listening to your body. What are those signals that your body is telling you and happening that's just not right, that's just not natural, that's just not aligned with how your body should be focusing. And if you're in pain, then that pain is not normal, even though it's been a normal part of your life for so long. And so there's this way of living that can really truly happen. And I call it an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. It doesn't necessarily have to solely be plant-based foods. I didn't start plant-based on my journey, but I did start making anti-inflammatory changes. And the seafood was the last thing that I took out of my diet when I really started juicing. And when you start really flooding your body with all these good nutrients and all this good food, and you're fueling and you're feeling better, it makes you want to do more of those things and have more of those things and have those unique experiences. And so Healthy Eating Adventures, they have a cookbook, right? You have a cookbook, Dr. Liz, and you wanted people to better understand why food is necessary. Why should they cook real food? Why do you believe it was time for a cultural shift to really create a book and put that out there for the community as a doctor, a family physician doctor, now with a cookbook, and didn't go to culinary school?
Was that a question or just?
It was. Why? Why was there a concept or a need that you felt like a book was necessary?
Well, we just were seeing so much wonderful results. We just wanted to share it. And Nick had gone to culinary school where they taught that sugar, fat, and salt were king. And he, reversed all this stuff, and he noticed that
sugar, fat, and salt are king.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They would teach him you have to put all those things on there. And he noticed that his taste buds just became so much more sensitive when he gave up all that other stuff. And fruits, the sweetness of fruits and everything, just yum. And you can taste umami, which is the flavor that's in Chinese and Japanese food, and and tomatoes and mushrooms and everything in there. But let's see the question. So, and it's not even that you're flooding your body with those things. You're giving your body what it needs. And we've been, over the past 25 years, been depriving our bodies of what it needs. We haven't been giving it the antioxidants. We haven't been giving it all its vitamins. We haven't been giving it fiber to keep the microbiome healthy. And, so what you're giving your body what it needs, and then you're leaving out the things they're just plain damaging. They're damaging those foods. So, yeah. Nick and we were just conversing one time, and I saying, Nick, it's so great that he's took all his recipes that he ever used over life and he's converted them to whole food plant-based. And he goes, yeah, I was never taught that stuff in culinary school. And I said, yeah, they never taught it in medical school either. And he goes, I've been thinking of writing a book. And I said, I've been thinking of writing a book. So we said, let's write a book, a conversation.
Come on, collaborative efforts that now have my cheeks and mouth watering right now, just hearing about y'all and this collaborative duo in the book. And I'm so grateful that y'all were able to put something out there to be of a good resource for others. So I kind of wanted to ask this question. What mindset shifts have you seen people make in your program around being controlled by food versus being empowered?
Well, as soon as they start cooking that way and seeing the results and seeing it's not hard and enjoying it, and it really quickly becomes the norm. It really does. As soon as they hear about it, they go, yikes, hear about the deadliness of the processed food and fast foods. And I mean, it's kind of just crazy. So as soon as they do, they really are ready to shift and talking with other people and everything. But you know what's fun? I love it when the whole food plant-based occurs over a holiday, because people are going, well, what am I going to take to this? And then I say, just take one of your favorite dishes. Don't label it vegan. Just take one of your favorite dishes and put it out there. But make sure you have some first, because I can guarantee you it will be gone. at the end of and people just eat it because it's just plain so good. And when, when people, and I say, when people ask you, just say, I just really feel good. When they say, why are you doing this? I feel good. It's, it's not complex. I really didn't like cooking until I started cooking this way. I used to just, but I love cooking this way and
I just like
chopping.
to eat. I like to eat too. So I just like to eat versus like doing a lot of cooking. But if I have to, I make it quick. Like I don't like to be in there long. So it's still good to be able to whip up a real good quick meal without feeling like you have to slave in the kitchen for forever and a long time. And it's just a whole different
I
vibe for
think
me.
you need to get rid of those titles, slave into it. Put on the
Yeah, because it's so like, who wants to
let it
be in there so
cook with others.
long? I can't
See, well,
stand it. Just go make you something really good to eat. So then that way you can go out there and get your nourish and flourish vibes on. So Dr. Liz, what's one kitchen skill or plant-based swap that tends to be a light bulb moment for people?
wait, what was that question again? Sorry.
What's
What?
one kitchen skill or plant-based swap that tends to be like that light bulb moment for people?
I don't know if there's one. It's so easy to cook the food, to bring it together, to stir fry it together, or to roast it in the oven. You can make a great roasted vegetable dish so easily. You put whole grain rice in the bottom, then you chop up your sweet potatoes and other potatoes and maybe some onions and celery and carrots. Just have fun chopping them, put on some music, and while you're chopping, maybe the kids will come in and help you do it, and it'll be a little conversation and fun. And rub some herbs into those foods and layer them on, and then put it in the oven and let you have to add a little bit of water in the bottom for the grains, and let it set for a while, and then bring it out and add some mushrooms on top and some broccoli and even some kale. Rub the kale with paprika and spread it out, and then put it in. You've got this whole meal. Oh, and then you could put some beans on top. So it's easy. Just putting the food in, putting in some spices.
I love it. How fast do people usually feel like a difference in things like their energy or their sleep or the acid reflux or depression once they start transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle?
It really, if they take it on wholeheartedly, they notice it almost in a week or two.
Mm.
And it'll come. But I think you notice it pretty quickly. I mean, you're all of a sudden giving your brain the food it needs, and you're turning off. You're not giving it the foods that make you feel like you're always hungry, and that make your taste buds just sort of, you know, and that are so full of calories but not full of any nutrition. So no, and well, you just feel so much better in so many ways. Really, in a week, people will stand up, and in 3 weeks, people stood up and say, "My joints don't hurt anymore." I
Let's
mean,
go.
yeah, it's very, very quick. The
Mm.
woman that came to us, she had been diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, and
Mm.
fortunately, her family physician had been through healthy eating. And he goes, "No, don't start that medication they want. Don't start that methotrexate. Go to the healthy eating adventure." So she came, and 3 weeks later, she stood up and said, "My joints don't hurt anymore. I feel great. My energy's good, and my bowels are working better."
Oh,
It's
power
really
of
cool
the right
when,
foods for you.
yeah,
I
it's
love
just
that. Thank you for sharing that with us, Dr. Liz. And then you also said it's not just about weight, it's about reversing disease. Why do you think so many people think about plant-based eating or plant-based lifestyles is more so about weight than they actually know it's reversing dis-ease or even preventing dis-ease?
I think people just don't know, and the doctors aren't just saying to them, "Look, at this is caused by your food." I mean,
Mm.
that's the first thing they should say. "Oh, you've got hypertension. Oh, you've got diabetes. Oh, this is caused by your food. Oh, your arthritic pain and you're tired. That's probably because of your food you're eating. Let's put you on what your body needs."
And what about taking it to a deeper level? Let's say I have been eating plant-based. I have been more intentional. I am working out, but there's still high issues with this vitamin, or my labs are still a little bit off. And all the doctor is now saying is, you need to eat better and you need to move. Well, I'm already doing that. What's the next step for that patient who has been changing their lifestyle, who has been actively moving, who has been eating the plant-based nutrition, but there's still some things happening in the body that doesn't align? How do they best advocate for themselves to get more insight, more information, more investigative work to truly figuring out what's happening in their body? Where's that disconnect coming from?
Yeah, that's something that you do need a doctor that's interested in it to um, help you with it. I mean, I forget what the number is. You can look for whole food plant-based doctors in your area. You can
So you're
email me.
looking for a doctor who's interested in really figuring out what's truly
Yeah,
wrong with you in a
yeah,
holistic manner, not necessarily just to say, okay, well, these labs are off, change your eating, when they don't
yeah.
even know that your eating has already been changed and you're already exercising. How to get to a deeper level or really figure out what that root cause is. Because I've had other guest on the podcast, Dr. Liz, who talked about, I'm a physical therapist. I'm already pretty much plant-based. I'm already moving regularly. And then they realized their inflamed marker was in the stress. They're not managing their stress. And that stress is what's causing the inflammation, even though they're eating the right foods. Or her iron was always low. Okay, well, the iron deficiency, and you're eating all of these, iron-rich foods, but your gut wasn't properly healthy and in the right state that it needed to be, so then that way it can get all the nutrients it needed for its body or its function. Or I'm taking this vitamin D, but I didn't pair it with vitamin A or vitamin K to make sure it's absorbed by the body. So there's so many different aspects of what's happening in the body, and that it sometimes goes deeper than the food, but you have to have that medical professional or someone who's willing, like you said, integrative, holistic, naturopathic. You have to find the right team that's willing to do the deeper research and insights to help you figure out what's really happening to you outside of just changing the food. Do you ever see any of those cases, Dr. Liz?
Not very often.
Okay.
Well, I think not very often. But I think then you just sit down with them and explore what the foods they're choosing and what not, and just see. Different people have different reactions to food. Everybody's different. And then, like you said, you explore lifestyle, because sometimes there are things going on. I know when people are following whole foods plant-based, I had a young man say to me, Dr. Liz, could this have changed my anxiety? I have had anxiety all my life and I'm no longer anxious. And so I think just having someone who is willing to sit down and listen to you and talk to you and then explore other things. Because most of the time, yeah.
I like that. Having somebody that's willing and interested. And sometimes we don't always have those healthcare professionals that have the time or create the time to truly listen and figure out what it is that you want, what's actually happening in your life, doing a deeper dive, and then bringing that insight to your doctor, like letting them know these are the things I have been eating, consuming. These are the ways I have been moving. This is what my blood pressure has been looking like as I notate these things in my documents or my journals, and I'm bringing it to you to talk to them about. Is really having enough data to bring to the conversation for the person that's willing to listen and explore and dive deep. And so I really appreciate that, Dr. Liz. If someone listening wanted to start figuring out what do I need to do to start feeding their gut, their future, what's the first step that you'd have them take this very week?
If they want to start whole food plant-based eating.
They want to start actually feeding their gut and feeding for their future. What's the very first step you'd have them to take this week?
Well, the interesting thing is that when we do our adventure, they kind of just jump into it. And
Okay.
they have the recipes, and they start by picking out a few recipes and go shopping for those. And then they get a sense of how to do that. And then they just stock their pantry with whole foods, plant-based. I don't mean to be
There we
simplistic.
go. So it's all about the program. So can you tell us a little bit more about Healthy Eating Adventure Program and
I'm not
how
sure
people
it has
can
to
get
be all
involved?
about the program, because I've had people just um, I referred one person to Dr. Esselstyn's book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease,
Mm.
and and just kind of working with the recipes. Once you start cooking with them, they're very easy to follow, and you just get used to doing it. It's kind of, I think it's more making up your mind. You think about why you want to do it.
It
Think
starts
about
in the mind.
what's your end game. What is it in the long run? And then there's so many lovely books out. I really like the books by the Esselstyns, and our book has nice recipes in it. And once you start just cooking with them, trying, and you'll get, so you can I don't mean to be simplistic, but
No, I think that's what we need to be, is simplified as much as possible. And so if it's, I don't know what to eat, you can get the plant-based alternative guide to start making swaps right now. You have recipes for inspiration. You can go get the Healthy Eating Adventures book. You can get Engine, was it Engine 40? Engine.
Engine 2 diet, but I don't think he has
There
Engine
you
2
go.
diet anymore. He has a different name for it now.
But you can go get different recipe books based on the lifestyle that you're really interested in having, and start trying out the recipes. So what you can do this week is try a new recipe, or
Yeah.
try a new whole food plant-based swap into a meal that you were already going to have, or add an extra vegetable to it. And something you just said, Dr. Liz, that I love is you talked about, again, that heart disease and being able to reverse it and really find natural ways to addressing what's happening in your body with what's going on. Don't allow the dis-ease in your life to stop you from being able to really embrace a healthy lifestyle for you. There is still a form of healthiness that is there despite a dis-ease. And so there's so much power in that, y'all. And I just want you to not miss that opportunity. So last two questions, Dr. Liz. Give some advice, some insight, some wisdom to the girl dads, the father figures, of the ones who are struggling with period pain, pelvic pain, heavy periods, heavy bleeding. How can they be more a part of the conversation? And how can these young girls, these women, better advocate for what they're experiencing in their menstrual health to their doctors, so they are able to understand that their pain is real and they need some support?
Okay. I sure wish I could solve the problem of there not being enough doctors that listen and that understand.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, I mean, the endometriosis and the heavy periods, and heavy periods are really annoying. I don't know, but the endometriosis and adenomyosis and things, really, they do reverse when you stop disrupting the system with hormones from, so say you're taking dairy in. Well, dairy cows are pregnant the whole time they're being milked. So you're getting those hormones. So that disrupts your system. So going through the process of, switching out of animal foods and getting rid of the processed foods also. And I wish that there were doctors that would listen. Neil Bernard has a really good book actually on your body and balance, which is the hormonal Neil Bernard, and explains it. And I'm pretty sure there's recipes in there.
So to the girl dads, the father figures, the spouses, the partners of those women, lovely young ladies that are struggling with pelvic pain, period pain, heavy menstrual cycles, Y'all, don't serve your loved ones dairy. It is definitely messing up their hormones, keeping them in a state of pain. And then also help eliminate the processed foods. Don't give them processed foods. Give them something else. And then educate yourself by reading Neil Bernard's book. Read it with them together and figure out what paths, what ways they want to start incorporating and embracing to help them reduce that chronic pain, because they don't deserve to be in the pain, and they definitely don't deserve to be bleeding 14 to 21 days at a time. Like, it's just not the vibe. So last question, Dr. Liz, if you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think Ben Franklin might have been plant-based.
Okay, so you eating with Ben Franklin, and what are you and Ben Franklin eating?
But I think maybe we'll make lentil soup and a wonderful salad. And I love to make green salads, and every day I make a different one with different things on them. Or, you know, chili is easy to make with, using the chili and ingredients, and you can even put different vegetables in it. You don't have to have the meat crumbles in it, Tofu is wonderful, but who would I have never thought about that before. What famous person?
Ben Franklin, and y'all are eating some green salad, a lentil stew.
It's more like a lentil
soup.
Yeah.
Okay. It. All right. So let everybody know where they can connect with you, find you, Dr. Liz, pick up your book, let them know all the good things.
So healthyeatingadventure.org. And that's how it is. You can email me on there, and I can answer you. So we can start a conversation if you want. The other interesting thing that's on healthyeatingadventure.org is there's a place that says, create an adventure. If you're a person in your community that is ready to do some leadership, you can look in there and see how we started ours, and there's materials in there. The book, Healthy Eating Adventure, the science, the success stories, the recipes, that's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble's website. And if you do read it and you like it, well, even if you don't like it, leave a review, because that spreads the health further. When you leave a review, then other people go, oh, yeah, I think I'll try that. So it's spreading the health, and that's important.
I love
Just like
it.
when you go to a conference.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, the advocacy work that you've been able to do, and just holding great space for good about you and good vibes while on the podcast. And y'all, speaking of reviews, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, maybe your biggest takeaway from the conversation. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast distribution platform, make sure to give the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast a follow, as well as a rating. So y'all, before we get out of here, before I leave you, if you've been listening and thinking, you know what, that's me. I'm tired of guessing. I'm tired of pushing through the pain. And I know I need something deeper than symptom management. This is why I created my coaching framework. I call it my M to the third degree healing empowerment formula, rooted in mindset, mindful eating, and movement. It's the same approach that I use to help myself go from surviving stage 4 endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and 2 fibroids at the time of my surgery, to reclaiming my energy, my cycle, and living more in alignment. And I now help others do the same naturally and sustainably. So make sure you connect with me in the show notes and hit up forwardvibrations.com. Y'all, it's been another amazing episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.